Hi everyone, this is Heather Lahtinen from the Flourish.Academy, and today we will be removing objects using the generative AI in Photoshop. Make sure you visit our website at www.Flourish.Academy to learn more about our courses and join us in our private Facebook community where we support photographers of all levels. And if you need gear and equipment, please check out our sponsor, ymcamera.com. You will be supporting a small family-owned business. My friend Christy recently sent me this photo and just asked me how I would approach the general cleanup, starting, of course, with this cover, which might be an electrical box. Of course, we're going to use generative AI fill, and in the past few videos, we've looked at this tool in a really practical manner. And we will today as well. But before we get there, I just wanted to show you that you can now use this to remove the background really quickly. And it does a pretty good job. It gives you a layer mask, which is great. You can add to or subtract from that mask. I'm just going to undo that. You can also use this floating bar to select the subject. And then what we could do is press Command-Shift-I, that's Control-Shift-I on the PC to invert the selection. So now I have the background selected. I could choose Generative Fill and ask Photoshop to generate a forest scene using a shallow depth of field. And of course, you're never quite sure what you are going to get. You can look at the different variations either in the properties panel or in this floating toolbar. Okay, that's actually not that bad. It's just interesting, and it's something to play around with. As of this recording, this is the beta version 24.7, and it is not to be used for commercial use. It's personal use only. They're pulling these backgrounds from Adobe stock, and when this is released, probably later this fall, there will be a credit system where you purchase these backgrounds. But why don't we change our prompt and ask Photoshop to generate an urban background with a shallow depth of field. We'll click Generate. Our selection has always been made, so this makes it a lot faster to explore different variations. Okay, look at this. I don't know where we are, but we are definitely somewhere different. This is so interesting. Okay, I want to try one more before we get serious. So I'm asking it to generate a flower field with a shallow depth of field. Now I keep putting the shallow depth of field business because if you don't, the image is going to look really flat. Or in this case, maybe just really bright. So interesting. Okay. Yeah, none of it looks natural or normal, but now I have 9 different variations of this scene, which really is just for fun. I'm going to delete this layer so that we can actually start cleaning up the actual image. I'm going to use my lasso tool in order to make a selection in this area, just quickly selecting, asking it to generate without giving it a prompt and hoping that it can figure out what it needs to do. Well, I think that looks pretty good. Oh, that might look better. Oh, maybe that even looks better. Yeah, I think it's definitely version 2 or version 3. Let's go with version 3. That looks pretty good. And then what I would like to do for the remainder of the image is just some general cleanup, but you have to think about what tools would work in the most efficient fashion. So for instance, we could select the background layer and select this part of the leash and ask it to generate a fill, but I'm wondering if it probably, in fact, I'm pretty sure it would be faster just to use one of the healing tools, probably the patch tool, to accomplish this, but we'll see what happens with this generative fill. Okay, it did a really good job. I think version 1 looks the best, so I'll leave it for now. But if we wanted to remove the collar, I'm just really curious because this would be really tricky to do with the healing tools. And that's when I would turn to the generative AI. Let's see what happens. That looks pretty good, that first version. Of course, we don't actually know what that hair looks like. And any of these, all of these could be wrong. I suppose only the owner would know. My tendency, depending on the request, would be to just leave the collar on, but we're just experimenting, so that's fine. And any remaining cleanup on this image, like the dirt, I would probably just use my spot healing tool, that's J on the keyboard, and just start brushing over these areas if I wanted to remove certain things I see that I don't like. There's something here in this stone that worked pretty well. There's just spots on the ground. It really depends on your level of retouching. Oh, I didn't get rid of that. But I myself, I try not to be a pixel peeper where I'm just like looking at every tiny little thing and trying to clean it up. However, I will say that if the client decided to order this in a very large piece of expensive wall art, yeah, I might spend some time cleaning this image up. We could even get rid of this line in the concrete if we wanted to. I'm taking this just in small sections. I think some people try to get in a hurry and they brush over too much of the image and then Photoshop gets confused. But I can promise you that doing this with the spot healing tool is so much faster than trying to do all of this with generative AI fill. I think if you can use one of the healing tools, you should, and you should save the heavy lifting for this new tool when it's something complex that you would need to maybe recreate. I think that looks pretty good. Let's look at the overall before and after. We were able to clean that up really quickly. Again, the collar situation is up to you. You can always turn these layers on and off using the visibility icon in the layers palette. So you could actually show the owner two versions of this image. You could say, hey, here's one and here's another, and ask them for their preference. I hope that you found this useful. I'll see you in the next video.